This is Something More with Chris Boyd, and I'm Chris Boyd, certified financial planner practitioner, and I'm here with Jeff Perry, JD.
JD,
And
present.
He is our an investment advisory representative with Asset Management Resources. You know, we've been talking a little bit about artificial intelligence lately, and it's incredible how much this has captured the imagination of investors as well. But I thought let's talk a little bit more about this topic as an area of interest. And in my mind, I'm thinking about what are some of the ways we use this. You know, we understand artificial intelligence is this idea that um, programming can learn and evolve. You know, you can't help but start having the Isaac Asimov,
Right.
mindset
Absolutely.
of the Terminator, Hal from Odyssey, whatever it was, and
The robots are going to take over, right?
iRobot with the movie, and these kind of worries that what I'm saying, like, is what's going to happen.
I thought you meant iRobot the vacuum.
I don't have that. No.
We do, and I guess that's
Could
a
be.
form of.
Yeah.
It knows where it goes. It knows where the charging station is.
Yep.
It's very simple in the context. It runs around your house usually when we're not home and cleans up everything and goes to the charging station.
Yeah. I don't know how much that's a real worry or not, but it comes to mind when you start thinking about the.
I'm not worried about our vacuum taking over, but
maybe not the vacuum per se, but the idea of if there's a collective consciousness of programming and how that interfaces with our lives. I think there was a recent movie about a cell phone having this kind of consciousness and messing with a guy's life. I forget which network that movie was on, but in any case, you get the idea. You start thinking about those possibilities. Maybe that's the fear part of it, but what are some examples we currently have already have artificial intelligence in our experience?
Well, to your kind of general point, I think it becomes worrisome when we turn over our decision making to this technology. And so an example of that is right before us. It's on the horizon. It's here, are these driverless vehicles. They are learning every second, about what's safe, what's not safe, lanes and speeds. And
well, all right. So in a case like that, I think there's a difference, though. I mean, maybe I've heard there's trucks that are driverless vehicles. They're supposed to be Ubers that will be driverless.
I think your car is going to have a driverless option within 5 years.
Right now, it is simply it has a sensor to know when it's getting too close to the car in front of it.
Right.
And I set what speed I want it to otherwise drive at. And it has some kind of sensor to recognize lanes, that kind of thing, which doesn't always work, right?
Well, it's learning, right?
Yeah. So, okay, maybe that becomes something in the future, but so there's an element of things that are smart, but I wouldn't call it
intelligent, right?
Yeah. I think one example that I interact with routinely is Spotify. It's
a podcast,
Amazon when you're shopping, these things where they seem to, but in the case of Spotify with its music or your podcast, it'll suggest things you might like.
Well, shopping, right? Shopping
seems to do that quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
Is that just good programming, or is that an artificial intelligence? You know what I mean? Like, is it learning, or is it just got interesting data points?
Well, I think it's programmed to learn, right? So initially, anyway, this is humans putting this program together. But, we had Dave Sampson on, and he's talking about software that's going to be on the cybersecurity, that software that's able to learn how to prevent attacks because of other behavior, right? So software programmed to learn and then develop better ways to protect us. So that's a positive from AI, but it is actually learning and then doing something different.
Yeah.
Even in the financial services sector, there are some individuals who are choosing to use, they call it robot investing, right? So
Yeah.
whether or not that's
Robo investing. Yeah.
robo investing, whether or not that's learning or just taking historical data and attempting to fit you into a box, we have 10 boxes, which box do you fit in based upon some perhaps
And what's the level of decision making that comes out? Is that just simply a program that says if then, or is it
I
something
think it is.
that
And I think my fear is that if you turn things over, if we collectively or you individually turn things over to the car, to the robot investor, to my vacuum cleaner, just to be flip, and say, and they learn, and then we stop watching them or we stop monitoring them, we just kind of sit back and relax and hope these robo things are doing the right things. Software doesn't always work, right? It's
right?
things happen, whether they be nefarious or whether they just be an error. That
Yeah.
you can't just turn everything over to the robots or the IA and think everything's going to be great in the world.
Yeah. I concede your point. It's I guess that's part of the challenge of this.
Right.
We'll need to write an AI program to monitor them. No, I'm just teasing. So, in any case, you use Instagram? Have you seen some of these Instagram things where you say, "Okay, here's 3 steps to change your marketing"? Um,
Absolutely.
in
It's
one
all over.
case, it's like, here's how to get the text. Okay, that's one. All right, now take that text and put it into this voice thing, and it'll put it into the voice of a celebrity or something else. All right, now here we'll make it into this image of a person who um, might be very attractive to draw people into your messaging or whatever.
Right.
It's just kind of crazy to think that you know how this can work, and it makes you wonder how much will be actually. Are you actually watching a real program or listening to a real program now, or is it fake? I was thinking, gosh, my voice is out there. Someone could totally fake my voice if they wanted to.
Your voice is, you've been on the show and doing radio shows and podcasts for 16 plus years. So you have
Like that.
there's ample data in the public arena. And
Yeah.
for politicians, we've
Well,
seen
that's
this.
where I was going next, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, go with it. Yeah, I mean, just
What if our
risks.
president is, someone hacks our network or whatever, or social media, or just nefariously create something and says, this is your president, this is what I want you to do, this is what we're
Oh,
facing, and
yeah,
that
that's true too. I
from
was
our
thinking,
enemies. Yeah.
yeah, I was thinking more in terms of the political
Campaigns. Yeah.
campaign season. All the fake stuff that could come out. What
48 hours before or 24 hours before the election, right?
or not, just stuff that might be promoted online that people perceive to be real, but may not get informed that it's not.
Well, that's why I said 24 hours, like something that the candidate doesn't have time
To really,
to really respond to. Like half the people aren't going to hear the response.
yeah,
So there's a lot of good that's going to happen. There's so all the big technology companies are all in on, making investments on AI, putting resources in, from Microsoft to Alphabet, which is Google. This past week, we saw NVIDIA, which is the chip maker, semiconductor chip maker that really is powering a lot of the AI resources, have earnings that were just through the roof. I mean, unexpected. I think they were projecting, I might get the number wrong, I think they were hoping, or the analysts were looking for 11 billion in revenue, and it was 13 billion, 2 billion extra.
wow, huh?
And their outlook for the rest of the year and the future years was way off the charts. So we can worry about or be excited about the future of AI and what it means, but in the investing world and the business world, companies are all in, whether to improve their customer service, or to create new products, or do programming, as you know, the kind of the thing we're talking about.
Yeah.
AI will be able to be a programmer.
Well, this was a big part of the whole entertainers strike. What was it?
The
The
writer's strike, right?
writer's strike. Anxiety about how this technology could disrupt.
That's real. That's real. We the
Pretty
most
soon it'll be the actors, saying, "Oh, they can create an image," and then it's, who do you really need,
well, there's already done dozens of movies out there without actors. They're avatars, and
right?
so you do wonder where this is all going. And we haven't said it yet, but in most conversations about AI, it's the term paper, right? I mean,
Yeah,
the high school student or the college student who forgets or neglects to write a term paper, and the night before they say to their GBT, whatever,
ChatGPT, yeah,
GBT says, 6,000 word essay on the fall of the Roman Empire, and there it is. So colleges or high schools or whatever are going to have to develop AI to spot that, I guess, right?
they already have that.
Yeah.
There's programs you can put that paper into to say, is this likely, the probability of having
Right.
it written through programming. And I think oftentimes people who are reading those go, does this sound like the person who submitted it? You know what I mean? And there's
Well,
instances.
you mean they say this person's not that smart.
Well, maybe, you know what I mean? And then, or like I was listening to a podcast on this, and the professor was saying they had some esoteric reference that clearly came from someone who had done extensive study. And
Oh, I see.
it just sounded a little bit too,
This 22-year-old does not know this reference, right?
yeah, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
He's pretty deep in the weeds.
Seems to be
So,
setting.
that's helpful that someone can still discern that, but there's going to come a time when you might not be able to discern that.
Absolutely. It sounds like, with many other technology advances, it sounds like it's going to be the battle of good versus evil just on steroids. Like all the good things about AI.
Yeah.
Can you imagine chatting with a company that is actually chatting back and making sense and solving your problem because of advances in AI, and you can get an answer or something corrected in a matter of seconds as compared to waiting on hold or trying to work with some
Well,
chat that doesn't work?
Those chat bots are, I mean, that's what they are, right?
Absolutely.
Do they work? Do they not work?
Right. So, and then at the same time, there's going to be chat bots that are trying to work their way into companies and steal information. So it's a new technology. Companies are investing a lot in it for good reason, obviously. But it's just with every technology, there's criminals and bad actors who are looking to exploit it, and then there's good people creating products to make our life better because of this technology.
Yeah, very true. You had talked about the earnings and there's clearly a certain companies that are making strides and others that are investing a lot to be prevalent in this space.
Right.
However, there's also, I think, a lot of there's worry that this is the potential for the makings of a .com
Sure.
and a reboot where anyone who just has .com on their name, gets the benefit of it. So is someone really, is a company really getting profitability or deriving it somehow connected to an artificial intelligence endeavor, whether it's benefiting from that kind of programming or actually the engines that run that kind of capacity.
Mm-hmm.
I think investors need to be very deliberate and discerning as to just because something has claims to have connection to artificial intelligence doesn't make it necessarily a good investment. And be tuned into that. And then the other reality is, it's a question of valuations. What's
right?
The future prospects that definitely can drive companies' prices higher dramatically by the potentially explosive opportunities, for the good that this could, generate profitability. On the other hand, at some point, is that a cost that you're paying too high? It's so many years of earnings into the future that it becomes improbable that you'll benefit from that. I think it's one of those things you got to be paying attention
Very speculative, and let's face it, individual investors who may be enticed by the potential, and they're looking at these individual securities, individual stocks, they have to recognize that Wall Street has priced in the good and the bad of this, right? So hearing this news, seeing something that you're just being exposed to now, the people who are investing professionally and weighing these things, it's baked into the stock, if you will, the potential for earnings. I used
Yeah,
NVIDIA.
I mean, you have an extra $2 billion earnings. I'm sure that helps the price of the stock.
Right, but by the time the individual investor gets it,
be after the stocks moved.
Yeah, NVIDIA is up over 1,000%. Over the last few years. So if you think this is the right entry point, you should go with your eyes wide open. Would have been great to be there when no one had heard of the stock, but that's not where most individual investors find themselves. They get excited about something that seems like it has a lot of potential. I'm just saying the market is a forward-looking indicator, and don't think that you're smarter than the market and you're going to be able to pick this winner without doing a lot of homework and reflection based on experience and education. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, great point. Great point.
Don't jump on the bandwagon. Something's running to the sky. The likelihood is, the data is that if you're trying to trade this, that you're getting up, you're buying in when everything else is included, and you're probably buying high.
Hey, on a slightly different tact, I've been getting some questions recently about gold. I think there's been a lot of advertising of late, again, perhaps because of inflation or something like that.
Sure. That's the driver of those ads usually.
Yeah. But, it's one of those things that comes up routinely at times. And, we've talked about, cryptocurrencies and things like that. And, this, you mentioned speculative investing, and I think,
Sure.
crypto tends to be somewhat speculative. And if you're going to treat it that way with a modest amount of exposure that you're willing to lose potentially, that's maybe the way to think about it. When it came to the topic of precious metals, gold, silver, that kind of thing, we tend to treat it more tactically, more related to our view on the dollar, and when we think gold might benefit from that, the way we might benefit from how gold would likely be responding in response to what's happening with the dollar. So in any case, but that's not necessarily why people often think about gold. It seems like a lot of times they think about it as, hey, just in case the world goes to heck, maybe I'll have an alternative. I'll have a bar of gold or gold coins or something that, you have the envision of, society's Armageddon, and people are running for the borders and to bringing, their jewelry and World War II era kind of stuff, that you envision. And I don't know, in that case, I suppose maybe there's a place for something like a modest exposure to a precious metal for, that security blanket, just as we would encourage people to have reserves and liquidity. Maybe some people want to have some money that's just for the unforeseen, in terms of precious metal. By and large, it's not our preference, but if it gives you a little bit of peace of mind to have something like that, then there's fine. There's a place for that.
It's a legitimate question, but it's not. The solution isn't to be influenced by a commercial on television of someone who is selling. They're telling you what a great investment these gold coins or gold assets are, and they are in essence selling them to you. So could it be that they're just advertising in cycles as the prices are fluctuating, meaning they're looking to get out of their gold holdings?
Yeah, good point. And I just heard something where it was like, Oh, and the direction is still up for inflation. Well, that's something we want. We don't want deflation. I know we don't want high inflation, but we don't want inflation to go away completely. That would be a bad thing. So
Right.
in any case, look, I think you're right. Pay attention to cost. If you're drawn to that kind of an approach, find out how it's going to be expensive. The purchase and sale can each have a commission of a substantial amount.
A
We
lot.
typically use an exchange traded fund, which trades without cost and is backed by physical gold in a facility in a vault as the way that we
Oh
would.
yeah, you don't want to stock up the gold bars in your freezer.
Yeah, probably not. Anyway, we're out of time. Jeff, thanks for being with me.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being with us. If you have any questions about your financial planning or portfolio management, don't hesitate to reach out to AMR. You can reach us at amrfinancial.com. And until next time, keep striving for something more.